there's a few things we want to talk about regarding updates on what's going on this offseason, including Matt Patricia coaching the Senior Bowl and some ridiculous trade rumors about Matt Stafford. So we want to get into all that and more. But first and foremost, we want to talk about the DSA Roundtable. If you guys don't know, it's like a gathering of a lot of YouTubers, Detroit Lions YouTubers, talking Detroit Lions and just having a great time. So if you have not, for any reason, if you found my channel before you found Micro Mike's channel, I would recommend going on to Micro Mike's channel and checking out the DSA Roundtable, because they had me on this past week, and they were very gracious on letting me on, and we had a good conversation about Lions, and it was a very good time. So I appreciate them allowing me to come on and plug the show. Sure, because we're a much smaller YouTube channel, but also I appreciate just having good, intelligent conversations about the Lions. So thanks again.
And we appreciate the shout outs.
Yeah, for sure. We got like 14 subscribers just from that alone. That was awesome, So people finding our channel and just they like. And if you did find our channel from the DSA Roundtable, I just want you guys to know, they were plugging us the whole time. I didn't want to keep plugging us as well, because like seriously, me and Andrew, we wanted to do this and start this whole show because we want to talk about Lions, and we want to set aside like an hour a week, because we talk about Lions anyway, about this stuff every single week. So we're passionate fans. We're not like analysts or anything like that. And if you want to come on and join us and talk about Lions and have this open conversation about Lions, then we'd love to have you guys. And we want the realest of real Lions fans. This community is the real Detroit Lions fans. We want the realest fans. So if you're a real fan, I'm glad you joined. I'm not gonna go on and beg for subscribers, because that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to become famous or something. This is just a community talking about Lions, being passionate about our one pride.
Yeah.
All right. With all that out of the way, let's get started on our first topic of the day, and that is the rumor being started that the Detroit Lions are going to trade Matthew Stafford this offseason and possibly draft Tua or Justin Herbert or whatever they think is a good option. So this all started like about a week or two ago with them saying that the Patriots might lose Tom Brady this offseason, and Tom Brady's not going to give them a hometown discount, and Tom Brady is obviously very old when we're talking about football years, so he doesn't have a very long time left. So it might, and we already seen Belichick trying to fight for Jimmy Garoppolo and for Jacoby Brissett to a smaller extent, and we've seen that Bill Belichick might be open to move on from Brady in the long term. So it kind of makes sense, and we've seen that the Detroit Lions and Patriots have a huge long-standing relationship since Bob Quinn started. So they've had many trades with each other, starting with the Kyle Van Noy trade and stuff like that. And now that it would kind of make sense that the Patriots need a new quarterback. The Lions are kind of in rebuild. They're from the mainstream media's perspective, that we only won 3 games. We're probably in a rebuild. We're in a position to draft a quarterback. It only makes sense to trade Matthew Stafford from their eyes to the Patriots, which we've had this relationship with. But, I'm just going to start off, then I'll give it to you, Andrew, to get your opinion. But to me, it makes absolutely no sense, because if you look at the, their contracts and how it plays cap-wise, we would have to give Matthew Stafford $32 million, even if we traded him. So, if it happens, I honestly would like an investigation to be started, because the Patriots literally are still paying Bob Quinn and Patricia, because to me, you're not even being you're not being physically responsible if you're a GM and you're allowing a quarterback to be traded away when you're still going to pay him $32 million. Even if you bring in somebody on a veteran minimum contract after that to play quarterback, you're still allocating so many dollars to the quarterback position. It makes no sense for you to trade him regardless, unless they gave you so much draft capital that it becomes worth it, and you're like, fine, we'll rebuild and we'll draft a quarterback. Then it's like, okay, fine. But they're not. It's probably going to be their first-round pick or whatever. That's ridiculous. You're going to still pay that much money? That'd be the worst move in GM history. So I don't think it's ever going to happen. If you think it is, then I don't know. That's just ridiculous. So it's probably just a smokescreen. to get teams interested in wanting to trade up to the third pick to draft Tula or one of the other guys. So that's how I view it. I see it as nonsense. What do you think of it, Andrew?
Dude, I totally agree. I mean, it just makes no sense. Stafford's a franchise quarterback. You look at a team like the Browns, and they went year after year drafting quarterback after quarterback, and like it's not easy to find a franchise quarterback, especially one that can air it out like Stafford. And like I'm a huge Stafford supporter. I've argued with other fans for countless hours comparing him to Derek Carr or people like that, you know. So like I think it would be just ridiculous. And even if the Patriots bit the cap hit and like his contract, whatever, and they offered us like 3 first-round picks, then maybe I'd consider it. But like, it makes no sense. You know, it makes no sense. It's not easy to find a franchise quarterback, and right now, like, unless you're getting Joe Burrow with the first overall pick, there's not really other quarterbacks. I'm like, yes, that is a franchise quarterback. Like, maybe next year, the Clemson quarterback, you know, that's the only one I would want. But besides that, like, I want Stafford in the building, you know, so I don't care. And especially at Patriots, like, they offer no draft capital because their picks are always at the end of the first round, you know, so like, you're not going to get a top 10 player, a top 5 player that's like best of their position in the whole draft class. You're going to get like the scraps of the first round, you know, especially if Stafford goes there, they're probably going to go to Super Bowl, you know, so like,
right.
It would suck. I mean, for them, that would be the best thing their franchise has probably done in a long time. For us, that would be the biggest mistake we've done. Drafting Ebron instead of Aaron Donald and like all the mistakes.
We'll get into that later.
Like, I know all this stuff. Like, this would be one of the biggest mistakes the Lions franchise has ever made.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It would be ridiculous. And on top of all of those things we just named, look, I mean, there's no doubting that Patricia's on the hot seat, and Bob Quinn, to be honest with you, like, because this was Bob Quinn's guy. So maybe not Bob Quinn as much, but definitely Patricia. And like, people are saying, like, this year, if he doesn't perform, if you're not above 8-8 at minimum, if you're not making the playoffs, maybe making a run, then you're gonna be out the door. Like, how many chances can you get? So I highly doubt, even if it was the smart move to do, even if this $32 million wasn't even on the table, it would just not make any sense, because then you're rebuilding your offense and you're saying, like, you know, this team's not going to be too good in the short term. So when you're on the hot seat like that, it just makes no sense to do some kind of rebuild move like that. And like, that's ridiculous. So,
you know what, though? Okay. It makes me think of something, though. Like, let's say we have a decent season. You know, it's not enough to get us in the playoffs. It's probably an 8-8 season, whatever. They fire Patricia. They get rid of Bob Quinn. That would be very interesting then, because then it's Stafford's another year through his, you know, time playing in the NFL. That cap hit wouldn't really be there, and he'd be nearing the end of his contract. So then maybe, because like at that point you kind of do have to rebuild.
Yeah.
You know. So then maybe you trade Stafford for the first overall pick, just straight up. Dude, you get the Clemson quarterback, you have a franchise quarterback, and like, you're starting fresh from there, you know? That's like the only scenario that I would be happy with. And even then, I would still just be so hurt because I love Stafford so much.
Yeah, for sure. That would be a much more responsible way to trade Stafford. And I think that fans would understand in that circumstance, and I don't think they would in this circumstance. Like, I personally, I would become a like pseudo Patriots fan. I would definitely like get a Stafford Patriots jersey and root for them, and they would be my AFC team. And I would still obviously be a Lions fan, but it would hurt. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. You mentioned one thing that I definitely want to touch on.
Didn't want to get into it yet. I figured I'd let you start it off.
Yeah. Good segue though. So, when you brought up picking Ebron over Aaron Donald. So Martin Mayhew, you know, he's going to the Super Bowl this year with the 49ers, and they interviewed him and asked him about his time in Detroit, and he brought up the fact that, you know, a lot of his GM moves and drafts gets boiled down to like one pick, and that's the picking Ebron over Aaron Donald, which, you know, I don't.
Yeah, I know. There's no words. Literally, what you're doing right now is the exact expression. There's no words, because if you look at that draft class and you look at every single pick following Ebron, every single one of them is an all-pro bowler. Not just a pro bowler or a good player. The next 10 picks literally are phenomenal athletes, top of their freaking position in the NFL, like all this stuff. So it sucks. And you took a tight end of all things, man. If it was like, just follow the freaking mock drafts. 9 times out of 10, you're going to land a beast player. Why are you going for tight end, man?
Especially that year when Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley and C.J. Mosley were all going to be free agents, and they all ended up leaving. They all ended up leaving. So, like, your biggest hole was D tackle, and you just let that slide. And you picked a tight end, which everybody agrees that was a luxury pick. Like, you don't pick that pick unless you're somebody at the top, and like you have the luxury of doing that. And that's what the big problem was when we took Hockenson. I felt the same way. It's just a position that's not going to impact the game on every single down, but on every single down that they're in every snap that they're playing. Yeah. I just don't. I don't agree with.
I think the problem is that teams fantasize of, oh my God, we might have the next freaking Gronkowski. Especially like we have Patriot ties, so it makes sense. But like you look at the 2 teams in the Super Bowl right now. The 49ers have George Kittle. Kansas City has Travis Kelce. George Kittle is the best blocking tight end I've seen in the league. I mean, the dude does phenomenal, and it pays dividends because you look at the 49ers ground game, they're averaging like 5+ yards a carry, and that's through their entire backfield, not just like one guy who's a beast. So like, yeah, I get it if that's what like they were going for. You know, Hockenson was the best blocking tight end they've seen and whatever, but like,
look,
dude, you just don't do that. I don't
care.
Look.
We're going to talk about this as well later, but, 49ers were coaching the Senior Bowl last year, okay? And they had George Kittle. You know what they didn't have last year? Nick Bosa. You know what I mean? What brought them to the Super Bowl is not George Kittle. I'm sorry to say it, but like, he's a great player, but that position is not something of need. They are an amazing team. Then on top of that, they have George Kittle. The Kansas City Chiefs, how long have they had Kelce before they had Patrick Mahomes? Like, they're an amazing team. On top of that, they have Kelce. Like, it's a great thing. The Patriots, they're an amazing team. On top of that, they had Gronkowski. Like, it's not it's about the team overall, and we weren't in a position to draft a tight end then or when we picked Hockenson, in my opinion. But whatever. We talked about that at length. But the question here was looking back now when we're looking at Mayhew's time in Detroit, a lot of those players that ended up leaving our team are now in positions that they're on playoff teams making a run. Like Larry Warford's in the Pro Bowl right now. Mm-hmm. Quandre Diggs is obviously making an impact in Seattle. Riley Reif, guys like that. There's Kyle Van Noy, exactly. We thought he was a bust. We thought even Ebron, leading the league or like whatever. What was he leading in the league a year ago? Touchdowns or something like that.
I mean, he sucks. He still had a lot of drops, but he did get a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, so it's looking back at it, and then even Bob Quinn now. In the beginning, we thought, wow, he was fantastic, and now like looking at Tabor, looking at draft pieces like that, looking at the Diggs trade, looking at small things that kind of accumulate into larger things, looking at, investing so much draft capital and free agency capital in the offensive line, and it's never paid off. You know what I mean? So it's hard to say who's a GM until like, obviously in the future you have the hindsight to look back on it, and it's so easy to see. But it does make me appreciate GMs and their job because, like, man, like he did get all the shit in the world for like the jobs he's done, and like that was one pick that tipped it over the edge, and that was really the nail in the coffin for Mayhew. It was done.
100%.
But
he probably knew he was on his way out and was like, I'm gonna screw them.
Maybe, who knows, man? Because he got a lot of the crap from the Millen days as well, because he was just a guy that was working under Millen, and So
you know what though? Like it kind of like, I don't care if you're the best, GM in the world. Like if you don't put players in positions to succeed, it doesn't matter how good they are. You know what I'm saying? Like Van Noy, we left him exposed every single time he played. He wasn't in the right position. Like he was getting beat in pass coverage. He couldn't stop the run. He couldn't blitz. Couldn't do anything. And it's like, dude, like if you put him in a position to succeed, like it makes a difference, and that's when it comes down to coaching on top of like just bringing in good players, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about the Stafford trade, because that is BS. That ain't happening. And if it does happen, this is about to be a Patriots podcast after that. All right, guys. We're out. Thank you.